Well, hello, János. How are you doing this morning?
Hi, James. Long time no see. I'm doing great.
So I think my first question is, why did banks decide to partner with BaaSFlow for this very ambitious project you have?
I don't think we actually had any other choice. So we found BaaSFlow and it turned out to be the best choice. I don't think we could have done it with anybody else. That's the truth. And to give it a more background, so we are a fintech startup, as you would call it, and we are actually an electronic money institution. So it's a pretty complex setup that we do. It's just one step behind the credit institution setup. So it's pretty complex. And we were looking, of course, to the natural core banking system providers that all the other big banks are using all over the world. And we just had to realize that very quickly that they are absolutely out of our league. That there is no way we can have that initial setup cost that they are asking for. And even if we did, we would only be, just at the end of the priority list, to be honest. We would never get the required attention that we need for such an innovative project. And innovation was another factor here that we knew that whoever provides the core banking system will have to be flexible because we are going to ask for a lot of fine tuning, customization, and innovation that we are putting into it. And with a big provider, I'm sure we wouldn't have done that.
Right,
And then,
right.
of course, we went to look at smaller players. There are a lot of upcoming new, we are going to develop great core banking system type of startup companies. And they would be a very natural and a great choice, in terms of flexibility and in terms of seeing us as an important client. But to tell you the truth, and we started that way, but to tell you the truth, that these teams are so small that a light breeze can push them over, and then they are going to drag us with them. So it's a very, very, very risky situation. One of their mobile developer has quit, and they couldn't find it in time. So basically, they gave up developing the mobile. So we cannot have those. Those risky, unforeseen events happening in a project like this, because that they would drag us with them into the mire. So that wouldn't be. So we need someone in the middle who is large enough that they have a team that can withstand all kinds of events, and they have something that has already been invested into, so they are not building it parallel to while we are building our own electronic money institution. So we needed somebody in the middle who is affordable, who can look at us as an important client, who can give us some priority and work flexibly with us to reach our goals and do all those innovations that are needed for a fintech to go
Right.
into to the market.
The other analogy was that we were the Goldilocks solution. Maybe we'll go
Yeah,
with that one.
yeah,
The one that was sort of right in the middle, just right for what you
yeah,
needed.
yep.
Um, so when you met us, I think one of the things we were trying to work on at that point in time was really scaling up our solution, and wonder how that came across to you.
Uh, Great, because we were in a similar situation. Although you have already been somewhat developed, of course, there has been investment in your core banking system by the MIFOS initiative and the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation. So you had a strong foundation to build upon, but you were on the same road as ours that we need to grow. We need to, you know, uh, build up and scale up things. So this would look like a perfect partnership, because if we do it hand in hand, we can support each other in the way throughout the way, and that's what actually happened. So to tell you the truth, if we didn't find BaaSFlow at the time, we would probably had to give up. We were that desperate at that time. Like, it won't work with the big guys. It won't work with the small guys. We need somebody in the middle, but how can you find somebody in the middle? So it was a very, very lucky turnout of events that we have actually met. Otherwise, we would have probably had to give up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple of the funders that have over the years provided funding. I mean, I'll call out there were a lot of others, and we are built on the Apache Fineract core. Um, so Were you nervous about this open source model? Was this a cause of concern?
Of course, a huge cause of concern because we didn't really understand it at the time. Yeah? So
Mm.
you really, I mean, things that you don't know tend to be scary until you dig deep and you get to know it and you realize, no, it's actually very helpful. Because, we are like a bank, exactly the same regulations. And you know that the European Union regulations are extremely strict, which is good. I'm happy for that. Because,
So were you nervous about the open source
yeah,
license? You
yeah,
said
yeah.
yeah, but so how did you get over that?
Yeah. So because of all the regulations, even the word open is scary for a bank or an electronic money institution. But what it actually means is that our system are not open to everybody. It's not open to the world. It means that the code can be developed by many people. There's a community behind it, not a single company. It's not a license-based thing. It's humanity putting their know-how together to create something better. And from that, we can definitely profit out of. And that's what we learned, and it turned out to be true. Yeah. So we are glad to give back to the community because we receive from the community a lot of things. And being an open source doesn't mean that your system is open to the world and easy to attack. So that's two different things. Probably the word open source is not the right one.
Yeah, so I think, the licensing is different than how we secure it and make it, hardened against attacks and those kinds of things. Like that's our job. And the code is just part of the story. So, um, hey, you mentioned scalability. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, means a lot because that's another problem fintechs are facing when they are trying to enter this very complex market is that if I overshoot with the system capabilities, then I will be ending up with a lot of initial cost, which I'm probably not going to utilize upon, especially in the
Mm,
beginning. So that's a
right.
major issue for a fintech. To get to market, a lot of investment is needed, and there is a lot of risks to take, and that will just add on top of it. You need a lot of investment, and you are not sure how much your system is going to be utilized in the beginning, how much of a big boom you're gonna reach when you go into the market. So you have to be prepared for both. You have to be prepared for a low scale operation that is scaling up slowly, or if you go into the internet, everything can be blown up and run like wildfire, and then you need a scalable, robust solution that can serve you even in those cases. So the system, it's back in the old world, you would have to adjust to system capabilities. In our new world, I would expect the system provider to scale up with my needs. So it's the other way around, and I think you're doing a great job with that with your system, that you can follow our tempo, and I don't have to follow your tempo. And that's the way forward, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think others might be curious to know how that implementation process worked.
We started that, I mean, when you build an electronic money institution, you need specialists, and they come from the banking sector with 20, 30 years of experience behind their back. You need those guys. But those guys have a view, and that view is basically product creates the product requirements, hands it over to a solution architect who translates it to an IT people who will do the coding then. But that's wrong. I mean, that's the old school way of doing it. So we started like that. We had some friction, but we worked very close together with the BaaSFlow team to find a new solution to this. So at the end, we built agile squads. That's how we call them. So it's basically the developer together with the product manager together with the solution architect. So we're forming a group.
Uh, can you share um, some of the details about getting live on the payments, the real-time payments network in Hungary?
Okay. It was a week-long testing actually, and on the first 3 days we kept failing, and the owners, the managers of this payment ecosystem in Hungary, they were very nice to us because they were giving us heads up that don't worry, nobody could ever do it for the first time. No banks has ever done this for the first try. And then in the next 3 days, we did everything for perfect. So we actually became the very first player on the market who has done this audit and certification and going online in a real life payment system for the very first attempt. So and again, it was key that BaaSFlow was there all the way. All the way. They were sitting with us in the same table and reacting to all the feedbacks that we were getting from the technical people. So we really do want to revolutionize this approach because we think it's wrong. And we would like to, our fundamental aim is to do banking for free, absolutely free. No card fees, no monthly fees, no transaction fees, nothing. We should make our own profit and revenue out of treasury. So that's why we were going with this zero fee strategy. And I think people are going to love it because especially here and especially for the SME segment, which we are targeting, there has been no innovation. And I always say to people that if you open a bank account at any credit institution, I can guarantee you one thing: your fees are going to go up over time. In BinX, I can guarantee one thing: we will be working on very hard to lower it to absolute zero for you. Yep. So if you are using it, you shouldn't pay for using it because we are making money out of treasury from your money.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's a great statement, a great differentiator. I think you've also spoken to me about how your digital first strategy is very different. And
Yeah.
So tell me more about, how you arrived at being at all of this onboarding made easy.
Yeah. Okay, for those who are watching all around the world, you have to know that in the EU, if you want to open a corporate account, I mean a company bank account, not a retail one, you would need, I don't know, this stock of papers stamped and certified, and I don't know, from many ministries about your company, about you, about everything that you are because of the background check, the KYC check. But at the end of the day, this is madness because you take all this paper into a branch and you give it to the representative of the bank, but they of course cannot believe whatever is written on that document. So they will have to go into official registries and databases of the ministries and check it, whether the official registry equals to the paper that the client has brought in. So my question arises then, why do you ask the client to bring all those documents in if you are going to throw them out because you won't believe a single word that is that is written on it? So we really thought that this is madness. It's absolute madness. And we figured out that we should just get all those documents from the official registries via ourselves in a digital way. So our account opening process, our onboarding process is absolutely compliant with all the very tough EU regulations, but we are not asking for any paper. We get that paper in the name of the client from these official registries. So again, I think the key to innovation is to think like a child and ask questions like a child would ask, like, why do I have to bring all these papers in if you don't believe a word that is written on it?
Yeah.
True?
Yeah.
So that's the foundation of innovation, that you have to be able to think like a child and ask questions like them. So that's where it all started. So now we have a fully digital onboarding. And also sending all kinds of papers, statements, contracts, everything to the client. So we thought we are going to create a digital mailbox where all these documents are uploaded there and the client can reach them anytime they want. Even 10 years later, they need some kind of document, they just do 2 clicks and they can get it. Plus we want to save the forests.
Yeah. So I think to summarize maybe a little bit, digital first, digital onboarding, zero fees, scalable, cost effective. Sounds like you've got a great formula, and we're hoping that's going to go very well as you get to this launch.
It has to.
It has
If this world is not open for this, then the world needs to change, So we know that our mission is a noble one, and we are following through. And if the word is not ready, then we have to change the word. That's true. And I would like to add something more to that we want to make disappear out of the daily activities of companies is filling out transactions. All the description, all the account numbers, all the amount. I mean, usually when you are a company, you are paying an invoice. That invoice needs to be available digitally. So if something is available digitally, then it shouldn't be printed and then entered into another system. If one data is once digitalized, it should never be paperized again. So we take that all the data that you need from the transaction from the invoice and we create the transaction for you. So all you need to do is just approve it with your fingerprint or your face ID.
Right?
Yeah. So yeah,
Authorize, keep it digital, authorize
yeah,
it digitally.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
And
when
never paperize a data that has been digital before.
you've done a ton of innovation, and we've been really happy to be part of this journey. So I think thank you very much for your time today, and well, here's to a successful launch.
But thank you. Your support has been critical on this journey. We would not be here if we didn't meet you. The guy in the middle who is affordable, scalable, but still stable. And I think that was critical. If we didn't meet you, we would have never gone this far. So thank you, BaaSFlow, and thank you, James.
And thank you, János, for your time today and for all of your ongoing support.